You are one of our main contacts for the Stepping Up initiative in Franklin County. What is your role in this county?
A couple of years ago, we had the Council of State Governments who came in at the request of some elected officials in the county, took a look at the data that we had for the jail, the mental health system, the shelter system, identified where some of the gaps were, and we weren't satisfied with just simply saying, okay, now we know what's wrong. We really needed a solution to try to move forward, and Commissioner Brown was a champion of the project, and the projects that Commissioner Brown champions are the projects that I dive into and try to make happen.
Franklin County is one of the first 3 counties in the United States that were chosen by the National Association of Counties to engage in the Stepping Up initiative. Since then, you've done quite a bit in Franklin County to divert people with mental illness into treatment rather than inappropriate incarceration.
The most impactful thing that we did was got buy-in from all of the elected officials and community leaders to say this really is a problem, and that we don't arrest people because they have because their blood sugar goes low and they have some sort of a diabetic attack at the grocery store. We don't arrest people because they're autistic and perhaps they become overloaded and they get a little rambunctious in some location. But if someone has a schizophrenic disorder or if someone has an addiction and has those exact same reactions in those exact same locations, we lock them up. And we're doing that not because that they're a threat, but we're doing it because they're sick and because we still have a stigma against mental illness and addiction. So I think that there was a commitment on the part of all the players to say, we're not going to lock up people who are sick. We are going to make sure that those folks get treatment. So the first thing was a philosophical shift in the way this county has now integrated into its DNA, the way we look at folks who have illnesses and make sure that we are not incarcerating them, but that we are diverting them to treatment. The second then was in helping our first responders, both from a law enforcement standpoint as well as a fire EMT standpoint, through CIT training, through mental health first aid training and other things, to be able to recognize the difference between when someone really was a threat to others and needed to be taken to jail, and when someone was in the midst of a medical crisis.
You've done a lot of partnering in Franklin County. How have those partnerships led to real progress?
By pulling everybody together and saying this is a problem for everyone. The police have a role, the prosecutor has a role, the public defender has a role, certainly the judiciary has a role, the commissioners have a role, but getting everybody to sit down at the table to take a look objectively at the data and buy in and say, we all have a part to play in this and we're going to commit to play that part. We actually, under Commissioner Brown's leadership, got the Criminal Justice Planning Board in Franklin County to, as a whole, commit to a 30% reduction in the overall jail population in the next 4 years. When you set that kind of an audacious goal, it looks unattainable until you realize that far more than 30% of the people who are currently in the jail have a mental illness. So if we can simply divert some of the folks who are mentally ill out of the jail, we can hit those numbers. But I think it takes someone being a champion and sitting down, and then everyone pulling together and saying, this is a county problem, and we are going to solve it. We're going to rise or fall together, and we're going to solve this or not solve this as a county.
What are your plans moving forward in Franklin County to address this issue?
We're looking at changing a lot of processes, implementing a lot of best practices, and saying we're not just going to focus on diversion or just focus on in-jail treatment or just focus on the correct level of assessment and pre-trial options. We're going to do all of those things at once, and then we are going to track each of them independently and hope that the cumulative effect is greater than the sum of the parts. Anyone who would like to reach out to us and contact us, we'd be happy to share both our the things we've done well, the things maybe we would have done differently, and offer any sort of advice or technical assistance that we might have. We're all in this together. Let's make sure that we're sharing and maximizing the resources that we have.